way or the other because I'm in under quarantine.
Okay.
So it's not been easy, man. I'm locked in the house. Yeah, and so
I thought there was a vaccine.
Your vaccine, man. It's debatable.
Okay. Still under trial.
Yeah, but they have not really unleashed it to the
public.
To the public, so they are maybe trying to see whether it's something that can work or
Okay.
Yeah, so things are really not really good in terms of movement, Yeah, and so
Hello. You're going off.
I was trying to connect to
YouTube.
Yeah.
I've seen a notification.
You've seen a notification?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good this way. I think the audio is balanced and you're able to get me in real time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it is what it is, man. Sometimes we fear so much. We are living very far from home.
Yeah.
And in case anything happens, you really need your people around you. So
yeah, that's the challenge.
yeah, but again, God is there. You always protect us.
Yeah, everything has an end.
Yeah.
And
so we had a long week full of football, Champions League and Europa League. Thursday night football. That's how nowadays Manchester fans are calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
and so
you had a great result.
Yeah, of course, that was a win. But looking at the opponent we were playing against.
Okay.
Of course, the team having qualified to that that campaign is not easy. But again, it wasn't the best of the tests. Like what you guys faced in RB Leipzig.
Yeah, it was a surprising performance because I know Nagelsmann is one of the best coaches. Even if you could see the run he had in the Champions League the last time, how he sets up his team, his forward thinking, that result was very shocking even to Man United fans. Yeah, there's been a lot of clamor, Ole out, Ole has no tactics, but when he's pushed to the wall, he comes up with the performance, then you just wonder. Yeah, so it was a good week even for us. But I think we'd have a better result today than I'd prefer a better result today than the result we had midweek.
Today, you mean with Arsenal?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the league that counts. It's the league that's more important. Champions League is 50-50. You never know how things might go, but a good result in the league, even for Ole, I think his job is on the line at some times. If the results go bad, you start hearing noises about his job being on the line. So I think even for him, he'd prefer having a good run in the league. Yeah.
I don't know whether you are able to share that. There is that code that YouTube has sent to your maybe to your Facebook, so that many will get some guys. Let me try from my end. I don't know how to work out because last time I tried to share, I had a lot of audio issues which were not really.
Yes.
So I'm going to try it with my phone this time around.
You can share and tag me on Facebook.
Okay. Let me see.
Are we live?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We're live. Yeah. Immediately you came in, I went live.
Okay.
On YouTube. Yeah. And so So for me, I think you guys, you stand a better chance to win this match. Going with your current form, of course, it hasn't been good from the start because you did not start really well. That match, was it 3-0 loss against Crystal Palace, and then you went another shambolic game against Tottenham.
Yes.
That's where the chance. That's where the most of the chance started from the Tottenham game. Ole is not the the man for the club, and then you have been improving all along, and I think the club is in good form. The players are really trying to produce the goods for the club. I don't know whether it's the motivation from maybe the manager, because sometimes players will determine whether the manager gets sacked or not. If they can gang against the manager and say, what, we're not going to support you, and they will stop playing. Of course, they will not fail to come to the field, but they will lower their shoulders and say, what, it's time for you to go because we're not happy with you. Yeah, we've seen it happen. I think with the Jose Mourinho, that's what happened. Some think so, because maybe they say that the players were against his maybe sacking. I don't know whether this could be.
Okay, it's neither here nor there. But the downside to Mourinho's style of management, it might have worked in the generation that he experienced a lot of success. The generation of the Pogbas, Lampards, Ballack. Those are the kind of players whereby he could rile them publicly, and a player gives in a performance to prove the coach wrong. That style of management, right now, with the current generation of footballers, the success of it working is 50-50. For example, Mourinho is the kind of person who will criticize a player publicly, regardless of the misdemeanors the player has had or match performances. But if you see, like in Ole's case in example, the issue of Greenwood had issues in the international break about bringing some girls in their hotel room. The media was on him, constantly bashing him, but if you see Ole's utterances to the media, he's just saying that Greenwood is putting in a lot of work in training. He's focused, he's committed. He's giving positivity to the media. He can be admonishing the player in private, but in public, he's giving him support. There are players that kind of management works for, and that's the majority of the players at the moment. So I think Ole has the backing of the players. There's a time people are saying Ole out. When he substituted Bruno in the Newcastle game, people were saying that they had an argument. Bruno doesn't think he's the right man for the job, but Bruno came out publicly and said those are false news, and they are backing the manager. So I don't think the issue of players will affect Ole as such, because he's a nice guy, always smiling, always in good spirits. His man management so far looks to be very great. He's dropped Pogba on some games. When Mourinho used to drop Pogba, he used to sulk a lot. But you see, Pogba now is being dropped. When he's being picked again, maybe in the halftime or the second half, he's still giving him the performance. So the mood in the backroom staff, I think, is pretty much positive.
Well, fair enough. So
yeah.
So that brings me to I had a template. Maybe we could follow it, because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
And we need to prepare for for the big match.
Yeah. the team news is about to come out in around 40 minutes.
Yeah, and so we should be done by around. Okay, for me it's 9:51 right now.
Oh,
in the morning.
okay.
And maybe around 10:30,
Yeah.
maybe we can talk more after the game, after we have seen the result, and maybe we can maybe analyze what maybe would have maybe done, would have worked well with both teams. And so
Okay.
we were, of course, we are expecting still one guest to join. I don't know whether he will, because he asked me to join, but I don't know how far he is. But I think we are good this way. Maybe if he doesn't,
Okay.
maybe he will join us next time. So, of course, the Premier League right now has a crop of young and, of course, young and experienced managers. And of course, we have the likes of, Carlo Ancelotti, who have been in the wheels for a long time. Now, looking at, of course, the biggest clubs, looking at Chelsea, looking at Manchester United and Arsenal, all these three clubs are currently run by, youthful managers. And sometimes you could think like maybe it's a big risk to take, looking at where Arteta was playing for Arsenal in, like 4 years ago. Now he's the manager for the team. Looking at Lampard, you understand? Looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is a former striker for Manchester United. He was he with which club was that? Because I was reading part of his biography. He was managing a club in is it Malmo,
Molde.
something like
Molde.
Molde, yeah. So
Yeah,
he
he used
hasn't really had a lot of experience in terms of coaching on a higher level. But now, see, these three clubs are trusting, their former players. You understand? And I don't know how can you analyze their performance so far.
I'll start with Lampard. Lampard has been on a scale of 1 to 10. If I rate him last season, I'd give him an 8/10 because they were coming out of a European player purchase ban. You remember they didn't buy any players when Lampard took over, but with that team, he managed to get top 4, which I think was a very big achievement. And he's done well. Basically, he's done well with the resources he had. He's done well, but knowing Abramovich and who he is, he'll have to learn on the job pretty much fast. Because Abramovich does not care whether you're a club legend, whether you've won the first Champions League with the club, whether you've won the first Premier League with the club. As long as the results dip and his mood changes, he'll sack you in a minute. You'll see what happened with Mourinho, what happened with the coach that they won with the Champions League. I can't remember his name, but I think he was a former player. You've seen what happened with Antonio Conte. So I really fear for Lampard because he needs to learn on the job pretty much quick and reach a level that it takes some managers so many years to reach. Because I pretty much know if Lampard does not finish top 4 this season, he'll be sacked. Because with the kind of players that he got and the kind of money that Abramovich has spent on that club going into this season, he wants results. So it's up to him to learn pretty much quick, ensure the team gels, set his targets right, and achieve them. When it comes to Arteta has steadied the ship. From last season, I think he's racked up some trophies here and there. The Arsenal are pretty much solid. What I think is pulling him back is underperformance of some players. You look at Lacazette. Lacazette is shooting blanks at the moment. He sets the team up well, but there are some players who are letting him down. The creative part of Arsenal is lacking. And the most creative player has been frozen out because of maybe off-field activities. Can't know what exactly. I'm talking about Ozil, because Arsenal right now are very good defensively. They are very solid defensively. If you look at Gabriel, Luis has changed his game totally. Your wing backs, look at Tierney, look at Bellerin. In the midfield pack, Xhaka has changed his game totally. Partey has come in. So defensively, you are pretty much solid. What is lacking at the moment is on the attacking side, the creative side, which is pretty much lacking. If I remember the game we played against Man City, you are pretty much solid. Man City, I think they had only one clear-cut chance in which they scored. They didn't have so many chances like previous encounters of Man City and Arsenal. So Arteta needs to find a way of solving that issue for Arsenal to move forward. On Ole is up and down. You can't. He divides opinion among the fan base of Man U. A huge percentage is Ole out. A huge percentage Ole in. It's hard because I can say we need to give him a lot of time, because since Ferguson left, we've tried the most experienced coaches. We started with Moyes, it was a disaster. We brought Van Gaal, nothing much. We brought one of the most experienced coaches in EPL, Mourinho, nothing much. So what else? Who else will you bring that is more experienced than those names, those two names that I've mentioned? So it's about time we just trust Ole, give him the resources. He's lacked the resources from the board. There are certain players that he wanted. I think there's a time he wanted Haaland, he couldn't get Haaland. He's wanted Sancho, he couldn't get Sancho. He wanted, I think, Upamecano. I'm not sure about that. He didn't get him. So he has to work with the resources that he has. Sometimes as a manager, you could give out your list that you have. Lampard has been lucky. He's gotten, I think, all the targets he wanted. But with COVID right now, finances are tight. I read the other day, Barcelona are still demanding pay cuts from the players because they're struggling to meet their financial obligations. So the managers have to work with the resources they have at the moment, regardless of the experience of that manager has or not. Because if Ole right now, if he doesn't bring in the results, Manchester United has changed. It's not the Manchester United of yesteryears that you could give a coach like 5 years to steady the ship or to bring in the results. 2 years, nothing coming in, you get the sack. So I think Ole has his work cut out. He has experience on the bench. He's working with Phelan, someone who's worked with Ferguson for many years. So I expect him to succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I was watching a certain podcast in between Manchester United fan and an Arsenal fan, and there was an argument between the two that
Robbie Lyle, was it Robbie Lyle and Flex?
I don't know, not Flex. The other guy, is it
Mark Goldbridge?
Yeah, Mark Goldbridge. And then they were saying, like, Manchester United are coming into this season not to win. They don't expect to win anything. I mean, I was like, okay, then why are you here? Because you never lower your shoulders that low in anything you do, because Manchester United, let's not get anything wrong. It's a big club, and there's a lot of expectations. And whenever a new season, of course, is underway, the same way it is right now, there is always expectation from the fans. You understand? But again, now I think the guy was saying we are not expected to win anything. What do you think? Is it like that?
I think
it is a work in progress, or
I think the main reason that some fans talk like that is that they were so disappointed when we didn't get Sancho. People were expecting Sancho to come in, get the number 7 shirt. That was the major signing that some fans thought would tilt the scale or bridge the gap between Manchester United and the leading lights, Liverpool and Manchester City. But with COVID and finances being tight, that deal couldn't go through. So that's the reason why some fans stuff like that. But it doesn't work like that sometimes. Results can change. The opponent can face some difficulties. If I remember, like the season that Conte won the league, there's a game that he lost. I think it was 3-0 to Arsenal. I remember that game very well. I think Ozil scored, Sanchez scored, and you didn't see anything in that Chelsea setup. After that game, he changed his team setup to 3-4-3. That's when he started playing 3-4-3. And we know what happened after that. This season is for the taking for any team. Any team that manages the players well, rotates adequately without affecting the performances, because the games are coming in so fast that if you don't manage your players well, the injuries start coming up. I think we've seen the injuries that players have faced. So this season is for the taking for any team. The team that manages the players well, balances the performances, tactically gets it right, they can win the league. Because I saw Aston Villa. I think they lost. They were trailing 2-0 to Southampton. So it's anyone's taking the league. So I'm positive. If the players gel, I'd like to see how Cavani will hit the ground running. That will be the determinant, because our striking force, Rashford, is on his day. If you're playing a high line, getting a foot race with him, he'll score. But when you face a team that plays deep, that you have to break down that defense, our forward line struggles. Okay. So if Ole can crack that issue that he's facing against big teams, teams that play on the break, teams that play a high line, Ole is perfect. But to get a team that sits back and waits for you to come at him, his strikers,
they get frustrated.
So I want to see how Cavani will work. But the league is for anyone's taking. I can't say at this juncture that we are not in it for winning that league. What are you doing as a manager? You're a manager at a club that has experienced so much success. You can't come in and give the players the notion that we are not there to win the league. I think
we are not ready for this.
Some pundits just throw out there some outrageous remarks so that the comments can be many and so that they can get more views or something like that. But every top 4 sides go into that league with the intention of winning it. Man United is not an exception.
Yeah, I also heard another a Chelsea fan from one of my groups saying that Lampard is not expected to win anything. So this season, maybe no, not even this season. He was saying he's not even expected to win anything in the next 3 seasons.
With close to 200 million spending by Abramovich, if he doesn't win anything this season, I can bet you he'll be sacked.
Yeah,
Abramovich never gives any coach time. Regardless, he never gives you time. As long as the results dip, he'll sack you. Unless he's in a good mood, unless his mood is changed, he can retain you. But looking from history and the spending that Abramovich has dipped into the market, close to 200 million pounds.
It's actually 226 million pounds.
Yes, and you tell me you won't deliver any silverware. And the caliber of coaches that are hanging around, the former Juventus coach is still there, Allegri is still there, the former Tottenham coach is still hanging around. He has to deliver.
Yeah, because I've seen, of course, Chelsea also, they haven't had the best of results lately because There's some games they win. There's some games they really surrender wins, very, very easily.
Yeah,
And
the defense.
Yeah, the defense has not really been looking good. But going with what they have been doing recently, of course, ever since that game they played against Sevilla, they kind of started looking a bit robust in their defense. I mean,
Yes,
they haven't conceded.
Yes, I watched their game last night, and the game they played against us.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense has started becoming solid when this PSG guy has clicked. His partnership with Zuma has become so good.
Mm-hmm.
Mendy is spectacular. I think Mendy is the signing of the season, because Mendy's performances, he's so assured. He knows when to come out, when to punch the ball. He's so assured. I think it's up to them to kick on from here, because their defense is good. That has been their Achilles heel. They score 3, they concede 3. The main headache for Lampard right now is how to structure that front line, because he has Pulisic, he has Werner, he has Abraham, he has Ziyech. It's a good headache for a manager to have, that you have so many players that want to play. So the performances normally tend to go up, because if a player gets a spot, he tries to ensure that he hangs on to that spot. If he doesn't perform, goes to the bench, the other player comes in, scores. That is the kind of headache managers like to have. Yeah.
So when I look at Chelsea, nobody expected them to finish last season where they finished. It was kind of a season where most fans expected Chelsea to finish at around 10 position or something. But what Lampard was able to do with the squad he had, and then sometimes I usually feel like that ban helped Chelsea to unleash most of their youngsters, and of course we were seeing them, people like Reece James. He could not be on the spotlight right now. People like Tariq Lamptey, of course, he has left the club. He's now playing at Brighton. People
Gilmore.
like Mason Mount. Those are youngsters that came through as a result of that transfer ban. And at some point I felt like Chelsea should not have bought that much, because looking at now the development of those youngsters, looking at a person like Mason Mount, he's a youngster, and now he has one of the promising youngsters in Europe, in Kai Havertz. There will be a competition, but at some point, I think like one is going to lose. One of the players is going to lose.
I think if it was up to Lampard, he would have maybe signed fewer players. But the structure at Chelsea, if you look at from past experience, Abramovich and his honchos decide who they want to come to the club. The manager has very little say. I remember the last time when Mourinho was there. I think the first time they had an argument with Abramovich. Abramovich signed a player named Andriy Shevchenko. He's his buddy. They drink together. They go to yachts together. But Mourinho didn't want that player. So that goes to show you that sometimes Abramovich can identify a player and decide by himself without consulting the coach that this is the player I want for the club. So I think if it was up to Lampard, he would have opted to develop those players. Abraham was starting to mold into a very lethal striker, but with the influx of players that have come in, I think his development will be hampered. Chelsea have a lot of young, good players, but their transfer strategies hampers their development. Nathan Ake was a Chelsea player. Chelsea right now, I know they are scratching their heads and thinking, what did we do wrong with Nathan Ake? Nathan Ake went to Bournemouth. He was checking in some very good performances. He got a call up to Man City. Chelsea have been having a defensive issue. I think this guy that came in from PSG, I've forgotten his name. He's on a 1-year contract and he's 36. When the season ends, they'll have to be looking for another player or they extend his contract. In the Premier League at 37 years of age, he'll start creaking, the performances will start going down. So they still have to go back to the market and get another defender. So if you are a young player and want to develop, Chelsea is not the best place to develop as a young player. It will depend on luck, the big players coming in and underperforming. It's a challenge. Their transfer strategy is not very good. Mohamed Salah used to play for Chelsea when he was a youngster. Kevin De Bruyne was at Chelsea. That goes just to show you the challenges they have in grooming youngsters to step up to the plate and graduate into senior professionals.
Yeah, but again, some could say maybe it's because you need like squad depth, and you need talented talented players on the bench, and that kind of competition when you know that if you don't perform, the other player is gonna get the opportunity to play, and so that kind of course drives the competition up in any club setting. Of course, we have seen it. Arteta is trying to employ that. He says, regardless on how you performed last in the last game, I can only pick you. Having seen what you are doing on training, and so players are giving all their best in training. When they are given chance, the question is, what do they do with the chances they get? Because we have seen a lot of debatable selections coming from Arteta. People like we have Reece Nelson, who is a youngster, of course, who I think is talented. He can play any time. But we have people like Pepe. We have Willian. And so when you have those kind of players playing in the same position, you have to be really, be careful. You can say maybe, Willian is older, he will not be playing maybe in the next couple of years. Maybe Nelson can chip in. But now, what happens with Pepe? What happens when you have all these players, in the same position, two of them not playing, and you have only one person, you have one player you need to play? And so it is one thing that I'm seeing in English football, and I kind of think that English clubs are not really patient with their youngsters. You may have youngsters coming through the ranks of the academies, and but because of the pressures to perform instantly from maybe fans, the hierarchies, management, things like those, then you are tempted to go out because you buy another player. What you have done is that you have really put this youngster down the pecking order. People like Mason Mount, I think he's a good player. I think he needs some game time. But now looking at who also plays in his position, sometimes you feel for him. I know he has had a few minutes in maybe this season, but he has been coming on. He's on and off. So it's kind of Lampard is preferring to use Kai Havertz. And so those are some of the conundrums we're seeing in clubs. But if you ask me about Arteta, I think he's, like you said, he's brought in some winning mentality to the team, to the club. And he's one guy who does not give a damn. Who are you? You understand? So there are players in Wenger's era where even if they did not perform, Wenger could still pick them. You understand? Many
like
many
Ramsey. I
like
remember.
Ramsey.
I remember when we were still in college, Ramsey was getting a lot of stick from fans. His performances were below par, but sometimes the coach sees something that the fan does not see. The fan does not have access to training ground practices, seeing how the work a player puts in during the training ground. At the end of the day, Wenger was right and the fans were wrong, because the player that Ramsey turned out to be, big match performances, FA Cup, he used to score important goals. It depends sometimes. The coach might be seeing something that the players or the fans do not see. So as fans, we are allowed to scream and demand a player to be substituted or be sold, but at the end of the day, it's the back stop with the coach. In terms of
true.
English football and youngsters, the size and the popularity of English football, especially on the big clubs, does not create a very good environment to allow youngsters to flourish. A young player is someone who is still developing. You need to have the patience to let him make mistakes, correct him on those mistakes, allow him to make those mistakes again. You see, and for a big club, that is a challenge. That's why you see a lot of youngsters are now following in Sancho's example. Jude Bellingham, we wanted him at Manchester United, but he opted to go to Borussia Dortmund because he knows that at Dortmund the pressure is not so much. You can put in a bad shift on a game, the fans won't be on your Twitter page calling for you to be benched or calling you a mid-table player. He'll get the conducive environment to develop his game and walk into any big four sides when he's matured enough. So that is the trend, and that's one of the challenges that why the English team or the English national team does not perform internationally well as compared to, let's say, like Germany, because in Germany, most of the young players play in the German league at the highest level. They're given the opportunities. In England, they prioritize foreign imports a lot, because if you're not performing to the levels that they want, standards they want to perform, they buy someone from outside. So the English game, that's why it's going down. But we are seeing a nice crop of youngsters coming in. So let's hope that things will change.
Okay, fair enough. So now looking at the top 6 clubs, because I'm looking at a situation where now, when you look at a club like Manchester City, it, to me, sometimes it looks like a complete club. Looking at the squad they have, what they have been able to put together in terms of personnel, have a great coach, and of course they are always willing to buy. I've always longed to be in a setup like Manchester City's, because whenever they need a player, if they need a player, they will always buy him, regardless of what. Because I haven't seen a player turning down, going to Manchester City, because they are always willing to spend, and then they, they buy what they think they need. They don't just buy it because of pressure. Because when you have a certain
it's because of the coach. Most players would want to play for a successful coach, a coach that has an appealing style of play, demanding, a coach who has achieved a lot in his career. That's why a lot of players, when you're called to work under Guardiola, it's hard to turn down. When you're called to work under Zinedine Zidane, it's hard to turn down. On the issue of them being able to buy players, it depends on the owners. If you get an owner who his sole objective on the club is not for the club to be profitable so that they can take some of the profits and put it in their pockets or do their own project, but an owner whose sole objective is to make that club the biggest club on the planet. I'm talking of owners like the owner of PSG, the owner of Liverpool Sports Club, Man City. Those are owners, Abramovich, those are owners are totally football oriented. What the club makes, it's none of their business. It's not the priority. The priority is not profitability. That's why you see such owners, as long as the club or the director of football has identified a player, regardless of the cost, that club will go ahead and buy that player. We've seen that with Chelsea. We've seen that with PSG. We've seen that with Manchester City. The challenge you have with owners who are so concerned about cost, reduction of cost, profitability, the challenges Arsenal had under Wenger's time, I think you are aware of that, focusing more on profitability, buying cheap players and trying to develop them. It becomes a challenge. You get into a cycle whereby you are rebuilding the team all the time. You sign up player, you get a player young like Van Persie, develop him, he matures. Instead of you winning something major with him, he moves. You get that money, go buy another younger player. It's like the blueprint of Borussia Dortmund. If you're a competitive club and want to hit the heights of Champions League football or Premier League football, that shouldn't be the model that you have. The model should be about getting the best players that suit the weaknesses that the team have and ensuring that you hit the major targets that you want to achieve as a club. That is the Premier League and the Champions League. So that has been the blueprint for Manchester City, and that's why they are working, and a lot of good players want to go there. Manchester United at the moment, it's wishy-washy. There are fans that don't want the Glazers in. The Glazers bought the club with debt. Most of the time, they focus on getting money out of the club instead of developing the club. So those are the challenges we have. And as a manager, if you are in such a situation, there's nothing much you can do. Just work with the players that you have and ensure that you deliver. Because for Manchester United right now, if I'm to be told, the solution is for the Glazers to go and we get a new owner whose focus is totally different, whose focus is totally on football excellence. I remember when this player that went to PSG, there's a player we sold to PSG, I've forgotten his name.
Di Maria or somebody?
No, not Di Maria. Forgotten his name. But he made a very telling comment once he went to PSG. He said the atmosphere there is totally different. It's football, football, football. The training ground, tactics, everything is football, football. But for Manchester United, it's a much bigger club than PSG in terms of global reach and global size. They tend to focus more on the business end, getting in more bigger fan base, and at the end of the day, the football side gets to get forgotten in between. And it's the football that brings in the fans, the football that brings in the money. So if you start focusing too much on the business end and forget the football end, the results start to go down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I look at a club like Manchester City, for me, I see, they have like good players in like every position. Looking at what they have,
go on.
Okay, looking at looking at what they have been doing, they have done recently in terms of purchases. We have had them buying a lot defensively, and that goes a long way to tell you that, it's a club that knows where they're lacking and where they can improve, and they got whatever they wanted. And so looking at a club like Chelsea, of course, they have also bought, but they failed to buy. They have failed to buy defensively. I know next time that's where they will be concentrating on. And for me, I think Chelsea are still lacking some defensive players, because looking at Zuma, he's doing well, but he's not the best of the center backs.
He scored 3 goals.
Yeah, that is, of course, I'm not trying to disrespect him, but we're trying to look at a player overall in the span of the whole season, what he's able to do, and how he, his performance helped the team, achieve the objectives of the club. And so, looking at Zuma, I know he's a decent player, but he's not the best. You cannot compare Zuma with people like Van Dijk. Zuma, of course, he has his strength, but sometimes it can be messy at times. And so defensively, I think Chelsea will have to maybe do better maybe in the coming season. Looking at sorry?
They still have a lot of work in fixing that central pairing, because as I said earlier, the guy from PSG is just is just there for 1 season, and he's 36. So the scouting network needs to work in overdrive and get a good pairing. But you have to realize that getting good defenders is very hard. It boils down to maybe the scouting, because right now, if I tell you to name the top central defenders in the world right now, you can name them in one hand. Getting good players right now, it's pretty hard unless the scouts identifies a talent that has not been identified by other players, because you can name Ramos, Van Dijk, who else? It's hard. You have to think a lot, not like the yesteryears where you could say Vidic, Ferdinand, Terry, they could just come out clearly. So at the moment, getting a good central defender is pretty, it's a hard task. You have to identify a talent and ensure that you nurture him. Zuma has been in Chelsea for a while. If he cannot upgrade to that level, I think that is
the best
his peak. Yes, that's the best he can do. So it's up to the manager to see whether they can upgrade on that. With Abramovich, that's easy. You just need to identify a target, tell him this is the player I want, and he'll deliver. So I hope Lampard. I wish Lampard the best this season. I wish if he gets a chance to finish top 4 and get some silverware. But if he doesn't, next season Chelsea will be seeing another manager.
Yeah, it's tricky. It gets tricky when you have the players, you buy too much and you raise the expectation of the management of the club and also of the fans. And that's where I think maybe if things don't go right with Lampard, he might be the first manager we see, being sacked from the club, and it would be so disappointing for him, because now he will be like a victim of circumstance. There's nothing much. Buying a lot, sometimes you need time to, make sure the players are, create cohesion between each other, come up with, a cohesive playoff style, because these are players you're picking from different clubs. They were playing different types of football, and now you're bringing them in. You have already another team in the club. You have to, strategize how you are going to integrate all these players so that you can get something concrete to go forward. And so that is as far as Chelsea is concerned. Now
it's 6:30. As the lineups come out,
I'm trying to avoid looking at there, because I might be kind of distracted and maybe shift. Let's just hurry this.
You're afraid of the audio issues coming out again?
Yeah, because last time it was terrible.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
Yeah, and so that is Manchester City. That is Chelsea. We've talked about. What about Tottenham? Who do you think they are lacking?
Tottenham's attack is great. Bale has not hit the ground running at the moment. I think the times he's spent on the sidelines at Real Madrid has affected him a lot. He's yet to get into that much fitness levels that the Premier League demands. So far, so good for them, but the results are still 50-50. They had a great result against us. I think their next game was not as great as that. Their defense is still, the central defense is still not that good. But with Mourinho, silverware is a must. I think this is the season that Tottenham will win some silverware. The caliber of the silverware is the one in question. When I'm saying silverware, I'm not meaning the Premier League. They can snatch a Carling Cup, an FA Cup, the Europa League. But time will tell. It's the season is still long way off. Their midfield is still not that strong because Tanguy Ndombele has been having issues with Mourinho. His work rate, the type of football that Mourinho wants him to play, I think he's unable to deliver. They delved into the market and bought some players. They're still trying to gel. Dele Alli, I don't know what's up with him. I think maybe he's not responding to the demands that Mourinho has. Maybe it's that tactic that Mourinho uses on a player by shutting you out and expecting to see you to come out and try to prove him wrong by performing at, yes. It might work, it might not work. I think Mourinho has not learned from his mistakes that he made. But then again, it's very hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So that's his style of management, and that's how it seems he'll be managing. So Tottenham, there's a surprise package. If the attack remains fit, if Kane remains fit, and their defense polishes up on a few issues here and there, they can pull a surprise. Yeah,
it's been long, man. So I'm an Arsenal fan, but I sometimes feel for Tottenham fans because Tottenham is also one of the biggest clubs, especially there in London. And you can imagine a club of such stature not winning silverware. I don't know why it never clicked my mind that they haven't won, because I've seen them compete severally.
I think it's luck. In the season that Leicester won, they had a very good chance of winning the league that season. I think it's Chelsea that beat them, that caused them not to win the league that season. They reached the Champions League final with Pochettino without purchasing or doing any transfers that season. So I think the football teams operate in cycles. I think the cycle of that team ended when Pochettino reached the Champions League final. So normally when that happens, it's up to the hierarchy to regenerate the team, bring in new players with a new mentality, and try to kick on from there. I think they've tried to do that. Their defense was aging. Alderweireld, I think Alderweireld is still there. There's a player who went to Benfica. Purchases for them has been a huge challenge because they moved into a new stadium. I think you can identify with that. When you moved into Emirates, you had financial challenges in purchasing players.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe when the debts for that stadium reduce, they've made some purchases, not the high caliber players that you'd expect, but decent players. If you look at the performances they've had, I'm expecting some good results from them this season. They can be a surprise package. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And now that's Tottenham. I think let's move to. Okay, I'll talk about Arsenal. Of course, the club is still building, and if I have to borrow Arteta's words, there's a process that is undergoing there. I think the defensive reinforcements that Arteta brought in, I can only identify only one person in the name of Gabriel Magalhaes, because the guy is young, 22 years old. He looks robust. He looks strong. He knows what he does. He behaves like somebody who has been in the game for a long time. That's the only positive I see. But looking at the defense generally, of course, also we have Kieran Tierney, who has been excellent. Of course, he's a good player without a doubt. Now, where I have issues is the right back. Okay, right back, Bellerin. I think he's becoming normal for him. He doesn't look like a player who is motivated to do better. It feels like if he does better or he doesn't, it's gonna be selected anyway, because I don't know. I think he's too much loved to a point that he does not want to push himself. And for me,
I think he needs competition. When we brought in this guy from Sheffield, I think you've seen De Gea's performances have picked. Even Shaw's performances have picked up since Telles came in. So I think you need someone to give him some competition there, because most of the time when a player knows that regardless I'll start, maybe if I'm injured, an academy player can come in. If there's no serious competition on a player's part, the performances tend to drop a lot, or complacency sets in. So I think some competition is needed for him to up his game. That's my opinion on Bellerin.
Yeah, and so when I look at even David Luiz is one player who can blow cold and hot sometimes. You never know what to expect of him.
Yeah.
It's like going to war without knowing where your opponents are hiding. Just believe that he's gonna be okay. And so I think Arsenal next time they need to invest again defensively, another maybe centre back, maybe, and maybe moving forward. I think the writings are all written on the wall that we are lacking as an attacking midfielder. We were chasing the likes of Aouar, but we never got him. Whether it was the club decision, I don't know. But we need a creative midfielder going forward. And another place we are lacking is striking force. That one I entirely blame Arteta. I'm not I don't like criticizing Arteta, but at some point, some of the decisions he makes, when you have a player like Aubameyang in your team, and you putting him on the side, on the flank. Of course, he has been scoring goals from there. But
maybe if I can cut you short, Aubameyang's strength is playing in space. I think that's the reason why Arteta puts him on the flanks. I've not watched much of his game playing centrally. Maybe you can comment on that. Is he more effective playing from the center or from the side? Because most of the big goals he scored them playing on the flanks.
Yeah,
are you advocating for him to be moved to the center?
Okay, the reason why I advocate him to move to the central position is because he's one guy. If he has a chance, he has 80%. You have 80% chance that he's gonna score. It's not gonna.
He had that chance, like that chance that that Lacazette had against Manchester City. I was saying that if it was Aubameyang, that could be a goal.
Yeah, see, those are some of the things that come in, because if he has to play on the flank, then we have to get someone who is very sharp, like a poacher, like playing in at the center. But now looking at our Lacazette, I don't know what's happening with him, because he's not looking like the player he used to be at Lyon. Sometimes I feel like it is not really clicking really well, because last season we were complaining that we were lacking defensively, and we were scoring goals, but we were conceding as many goals. But now
once
it's becoming
you've sorted your defense, and now the striking is
wanting. Yeah, and so I don't know. I like Lacazette, but at some point you feel like he's not the right man. Maybe next time we should.
Martinelli is back in training. Maybe could give him some competition.
Yeah, looking at what Martinelli can do. Martinelli is one guy who can do anything with the ball. You understand? When there's a chance, he will definitely. He's young, but he will definitely put it at the back of the net, and that is exactly the only thing you need from. Maybe you can argue that Lacazette sometimes contributes defensively. Is someone who can hold the play and also come and picks the ball from the center. Try to distribute to the flanks as he runs forward. But again, we need goals. I know you cannot win games without goals. We are our current performance is down because we are not scoring enough.
Yeah, true.
We are not scoring enough. So that's what I can talk about. Arsenal. What is missing with Manchester United?
It's hard to say what's missing because the last two performances. If I look at the performances against PSG, if I look at the performance against RB Leipzig, were spectacular. Our defense had an issue, but it seems to have improved so much. We haven't conceded any goals in our last 3 games. De Gea has upped his game. Our captain is coming along. He had some off-field challenges that affected his game. Right now, he's back to his best. Tuanzebe played against PSG. He gives us an option in case the 2 center backs are not performing. From where I sit, it's the manager to know who to pick right now, because the players that he puts out there are putting out the numbers, with the exception of Daniel James, who I like saying he's the new Walcott. He just runs around like a headless chicken. He has so much pace, but the footballing sense, he does not have a football brain. But the players that Ole puts out are pulling in the numbers. Fred has resurrected. Fred right now is undroppable. If you look at the past 3 games he's played, always tenacious, always running to cover space, running to win back the ball. McTominay against PSG was spectacular in keeping Neymar and Mbappe in check. Matic, when he played against Leipzig, he played well. So all the players are performing well. So at the moment, if I look at it from this perspective of the last 3 games, there's no weakness or no major concern that I have, apart from the COVID diagnosis for Telles. I'd have wanted him to play if Cavani was starting today. I haven't had a chance to check the lineups. I know they are out, but I think Telles brings a new dimension to our play. He's very good in corners. He's very good in crosses. He's so accurate. If I compare him with Wan-Bissaka is good at defending. He's a 9/10 defending, but offensively going forward, he's a 2/10. He just crosses the ball and expects the ball to land on the striker's head. He has no accuracy going forward. He doesn't know how to beat a player. So that's one of the major challenges I have on such a player. But the club agreed to buy him based on their reasons. But if it were up to me, I'd rather buy a player who's a 7/10 defending and a 7/10 attacking wise. A player like Alexander Arnold, a player like Robertson. But Wan-Bissaka, only weakness he has that he does not offer much offensively going forward. So you find that the player that is playing with on the forward line, he cannot overlap. If he overlaps, he offers nothing. So those are the challenges that we have. It's up to the coach to get the best tactics to gel the players so that the results come in.
No, I think the lineup is out.
Yes.
And so, wow.
Start with Arsenal.
So, okay, let me start with Arsenal. Of course, Arteta has decided to go with 3-4-3.
It was expected.
And so, of course, in goal, we have Van Leno as usual. And then we have Kieran Tierney, Gabriel, and Holding. And then in midfield, he has Saka, Thomas, Elneny, and Bellerin.
Elneny is the shock. I thought party after party would start.
Partey is the same. Is the same as Thomas. Still the same
Is Partey
person.
starting?
No, yeah.
Thomas. Oh, you said Thomas. Oh, okay. You know, Partey is more popular than Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. And so up front, he's having Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Willian.
No surprise there. I think his strategy is to play on the break, ensure Man United come at him, and try and hit them on the counter. That has been his strategy against.
He's putting too much on the flanks, man. Because looking at now, we have Bellerin and Holding. Holding, of course, is playing as in the back three, but Bellerin will be playing up front, feeding Willian with balls, and I don't know how it's gonna. It's a technical switch. I don't know whether it is something that is gonna work. But one person I really, even though it's debatable, one person I am happy is brought in is Elneny. Elneny is one guy who will not do much, but whatever he does it cleanly.
Yeah, it's like Henderson.
Yeah. So he will seem to be lost in the match, but his contribution is one guy who knows that he's not the best, who is always trying to impress. And in that process,
delivers he works on instructions. If the manager gives him instructions, he ensures he delivers on those instructions.
Now let's go to Manchester United. Of course, you're going with
the formation?
4-3-1-2.
4-3-1-2.
Yes. So at
like
the back
it's a diamond.
Of course, obvious. The diamond.
Midfield diamond. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have Wan-Bissaka, of course, De Gea in goal. Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Luke Shaw. Sitting ahead of them is Fred, McTominay, and Pogba. And ahead of them is, of course, Fernandes, and in front is Rashford and Greenwood.
Basically, it's the same. It's pretty much the same game that started against Leipzig, with the exception of Matic is not starting.
Matic is not here.
Yes, Matic is not starting. There were concerns that he'll start the diamond. I wasn't for it because I thought it does not give us much on the width side. Because I had speculated that Arsenal would start with the 3-4-3. You'll be very much strong on the flanks with your wing backs running forward, and you have Aubameyang and Willian. But playing the diamond, we only have Shaw and Wan-Bissaka and Pogba and maybe Fred trying to offer support on the wings. So my only major concern with the diamond formation is that on the wings we struggle. It offers not much on the wings, but the challenge we'll have is to break down that Arsenal defense, because the way you set up when you're defending, you'll have like a backline of 5 defenders.
Yeah.
El Neni, Partey, Xhaka. I would have wished Mata to start in place of Greenwood, because Mata is so good at unlocking defenses. So if we will be unable to unlock that defense, this can be a drab draw. I don't expect to witness the game that we played against Chelsea, KG match. I know Arteta will be happy with a draw. Solskjaer won't be happy with a draw. I think we won 3 points. Yes. The lineups are out, so it's up to the players to execute. Man United will have to watch for the break. We shouldn't play with the high line, because if Arsenal break and Aubameyang is on the ball, and you have Maguire chasing down with his struggles with pace, we will struggle a lot. So I hope they play a low line, and the creative midfielders is upon them, Pogba and Fernandes, to break down that Arsenal defense. I know with Greenwood, half a chance he can deliver. So game on. It's up to the players now to execute. There's nothing much.
Yeah, man. So we have the substitutes, of course. Manchester United, we have Cavani, Mata, Henderson, Matic, Williams, Van der Beek, and Tuanzebe. With Arsenal, they're going with Ceballos, Lunasson, Maitland-Niles, Pepe, Mustafi, Nketiah, and Xhaka.
My concern is the creative side. I expected Ceballos to start, because from this lineup is like Arteta just wants to sit back and play for a draw.
He's going defensive, and sometimes it makes the game look boring.
And to Arsenal fans who most of them fell in love with the club because of the brand of football, touch and go, possession based, always going forward looking for a goal. This new regime of sitting back and defending, the proverbial setting up a bus is so alien to Arsenal fans. That's why there are some fans who are very uncomfortable with the style of play that Arteta is putting out.
Because
I'm pretty much concerned about the lack of a creative midfielder. I thought Ceballos would have started that game, because without Ceballos, the chances he'll create will be pretty much minimal.
Yeah, he might be banking on maybe Partey, because he can break the lines, can give decent chances, and maybe Willian. Now, what this means is that he's going to use the wings as his major weapon of attack, and sometimes if the wings are broken down, and then that is it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We have like 4 minutes to bring this to a close, and let me bring you into another thing altogether. What is your preferred 11, as in now combined 11 from the 2 teams? If you are going to maybe select,
I'll disregard the lineups. I'll take it as if I've not seen the lineups coming out. In goal, I think De Gea will take it because of his experience, his longevity in the Premier League, his achievements. Left back. Let me go with right back. Right back, I'll go with Wan-Bissaka. As you had alluded to earlier, that Bellerin is 50-50. Sometimes he's not in the game. Sometimes he's hot and cold. Defense.
Okay. Before you continue, let me give you the formation. The formation should be 4-3-3 to make things easier for us.
Yes. That's what I'm going for. That's why I said I'll disregard the lineups. So right back, I'll go with Wan-Bissaka. The center back pairing, Gabriel will have to start. Gabriel's performances have been spectacular for a greenhorn in the Premier League. He's just come in and hit the ground running. You'd think he has played in the Premier League for quite a while. His pairing, I'll pick Lindelof. Left back, I'll go with Tierney. Sure, his injury issues, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. I'll go with Tierney. In the midfield, I'll pick Xhaka. Xhaka, Bruno, and Pogba. Xhaka, Bruno, and Pogba in the midfield. Forward, on the left side, it will be criminal to leave out Aubameyang. His exploits in the game and his big match performances. Aubameyang will left side attack. Central.
Where do you put Rashford? Is it central or from?
Rashford plays on the flank. So on the flank, he's up against Aubameyang. Aubameyang is better than him. So Rashford won't have he would start for me. Centrally, I'll pick Cavani because of his experience and exploits in the game. Not on his Premier League exploits, but basically on his exploits in the game, what he's achieved as a player. I would have picked Martial, but this season he hasn't been up to scratch. On the right side, I'll pick Pepe.
Okay.
Shocking.
Now Pepe
Shocking,
is
yes.
not in.
Yeah, he's not
I
in the
agree.
team, but I'll pick Pepe, yes. I'll pick Pepe. Yeah, that's my team.
Wow. So I agree with you in most of the positions of the players you have selected in different positions. First, I agree with you that De Gea is always is a better player, regardless of maybe what we have seen. Maybe we saw last season from him, and I think this season he started really well. He has not made mistakes, even though you have considered a lot of goals previously, but none of those goals were his own making. So I'll still go with him. Right back, I'll go with Wan-Bissaka all day. No dispute about that, because he's a better player. Now, left back, I will go with Tierney. I think he's more gifted, than.
He's better going forward.
Yeah, sure. He's better, and he's kind of more disciplined. The kind of tackles he makes, they're not those tackles that can ruin the whole direction of the game. So I'll pick him over Luke Shaw. Of course, Luke Shaw is a decent player. On his day, he's one guy who can do massively. Now centre back, of course, I'll go with Gabriel, and I'll not go with Lindelof. I'll go with Maguire.
Okay.
This time round.
Okay.
Yeah, because in these games you need a player who is kind of experienced enough. There's a lot of excitement when you are when you are facing a big team. There's more than just playing good that comes into play. You have to have experience, the decisions you make, how you need a leader at the defense who can direct other, especially when you're looking at that defense, you need like a leader who can tell other players, do this. And then when you have people like Lindelof, you have Tierney, you have Wan-Bissaka. Those boys, of course, they are good, but they need direction. You understand? And so, for me, that is what I would go with. And midfield, who did you choose for midfield?
No, it's your pick.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at what you had. You went with Pogba.
Okay, I picked Xhaka, Pogba, and Bruno.
Okay, I will go with Partey, Pogba, and Bruno.
Okay.
And front three, I will go with Pepe, Rashford, and Aubameyang. That's it. I'll put Rashford at the center because I know he's one guy who, doesn't dilly-dally with balls. Once he gets maybe a pass from maybe Bruno, he's one guy who can maybe take a one touch and looks at where the net is. Without disrespecting Martial, even if he were available, I could not have gone with him because Martial, he's one guy who is talented, but he's not living to his
Yes.
He's just hitting his best.
I think Martial is older than Rashford, but Rashford has matured in his game better than Martial.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, man. What is your score?
I normally don't like to give score predictions. The team that turns up will take it. But from the way Arsenal has set up, I think it will be a very low score game. It will be a close game because the way Arteta set up, basically they'll just be sitting back and waiting for us to make mistakes, maybe lose the ball in the midfield and they spring a counter attack. So as a Man United fan, obviously I'll have to go for a win. I can't give a prediction that I'm confident. So yes, I'm confident. I think we can win 3-0. 3-0 to Manchester United.
3-0.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
For me, we are coming into this game as kind of underdogs, if I have to say that. And with that kind of mentality, I expect the boys to really work hard. And for me, I see, of course, I kind of see a draw, like a 1-1 something. Of course, I know there will be goals, but I also want to win. You understand? But I just want I want to be
pragmatic,
realistic enough.
Or realistic.
Yes. We are not really looking good going by our form and
the team setup. Lack of a creative personnel in the midfield.
Yeah, so 1-1 will be a fair result. It will be a fair result to Arsenal fan because Man U right now you are looking good. That's the plain truth. But if we win 2-1, I will not be sad. I'll be good. And so I'll see you, man, after the game. Maybe we can look at a few things after the game and see, what happens.
After the game, I'm 50-50, but I'll advise you whether I'll be available or not.
Yeah, okay. We can always talk even offline. There's no problem.
Yeah.
All the best. So let's see what happens, man.
Thanks, Bernard. Today has been better than the last time. At least the audio issues have been sorted out, and I hope next time we'll get a guy for Chelsea.
Yeah, of course.
To have a balanced discussion.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I have some guys who are traveling, so maybe we'll have them next week. So.
Okay.
So I see you after the game, man.
Okay, thanks.
All right, bye.